everyone, and welcome to the 2021 USAD US Open. I'm National Poomsae Coach Barbara Brand, along with everyone's best Poomsae pal, Miyako Yerick. Hey, Miyako, you ready to go tonight?
I am ready. We are continuing the prelim action, this time with some juniors. So again, these groups were just so big. We had so many people competing that we had to split it into 2 flights. So we'll have the first flight of the junior males tonight, followed by the first flight of the junior females. We have 28 in the male division and 39 in the female division. So that's a really big combined division. And we'll take the top halves into the semis.
Okay, well, with so much action, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, kicking off the second episode, we have the junior male black belts preliminary round, flight 1.
Up first, we have Alexander Pease. He's from Maryland. He trains at East West Taekwondo under his master, Purushottam Sharma. And remember this dojang, is this near you?
It is, yeah, it's pretty close. I've recorded some videos here. And Alex just keeps getting taller and taller. I haven't seen him in months now, but he looks like a giant.
From this perspective, it looks like he's as tall as a ceiling. He's actually hitting the ceiling. Good job on choreo from Alexander Pease. He gets a 7.260, a solid score. So we've seen our cutoffs right around the 7 mark, right, in our first episodes. Our first episode results. And so it'll be interesting to see if that happens again in this one, where it's hovering right around that 7.0 mark.
That's right. That's a pretty good score based on last night's episode, but we have a whole new set of judges. So we'll have to see how this round plays out. Again, we have 28 guys in this prelim flight, and we're taking the top 14 into the semis. But Alex Pease here opening up really strong for this division. Nice long stances.
Right, so he got a 7.260 for choreo. And now a 7.3, so 2 pretty solid scores there. It took a couple of hits there on the accuracy for that form. So he'll finish with a 7.280. Up next, we have Chaotin Knudsenhoe from Texas, training at Team Forge Taekwondo under AJ Munoz at Hyun Kim.
Now it looks like he's wearing a Poomsae team belt, and it looks like from my notes here that he competed in the male cadet team at the 2020 online Pan Am Poomsae Championships. And I know because sometimes our teams that we had before live in different places, so we had to find teams that all lived together during COVID who could train and compete. So maybe that Texas team got to take that spot. And now he's 14, so aging up into this junior division, 15 to 17 this year.
He gets a good score, 7.540.
시작!
Both of our first two athletes here, very tall, long limbs, trying to stay grounded in these stances.
Okay, strong performance from Chaotin Knudsenhoe, and he received a 7.54 for his first Poomsae choreo. And now 7.46, so that puts him in a pretty good position, although I'm gonna, guess that a lot of these scores are gonna just jet up as we get going here. 7.5 for Chaotin Knudsenhoe's final score. This is Matthew Raw. Matthew is from Agape Black Belt Center in New York.
시작!
So I believe this is the third of the Ra siblings. Haley Ra, we know from the female senior 1 division, and both of her brothers competing. So here we have Matthew in the junior division.
Nice reach on the side kicks, probably better than his front kicks actually. His front kick, his support leg tends to bend, but on the side kick, not at all. Not quite all the way straight on that rear leg of those front stances. And that shows on that rear line there going back away from the judges. This Matthew Raw gets a nice solid 7.4 for choreo.
시작!
Working on trying to rotate those hips there. He actually does his rotation in the second half of the move, which I think is more technically accurate if you were doing it quickly, which is the opposite of what most athletes do. They normally get rotating in the very beginning of the move, and then they kind of run out of rotation the second half. But he did get that in the second half, so that's a nice note to notice and keep working on.
바로! 차려! 그냥!
So Matthew got a 7.4 for his first Poomsae and now a 7.47. So he'll finish with a 7.435. And up next we have Vincent Chen from North Carolina.
준비. 시작.
Pretty flexible. This uniform is a little bit big on him.
Right, it makes him look a little bit smaller than he probably is. He's got good reach on his side kicks. On both that first line and this line too, he's really trying to push up. A lot of shoulder action. Maybe bring those shoulders down a bit.
바로.
Here's that Vincent Chen, and he gets a 7.13 for choreo.
So this flight again is 28 athletes, and it is a randomized order. because we have an athlete from South Korea later in the division. So the order here, we do have those ranking points coming through for USA Taekwondo, but when we have an international athlete, the order gets randomized. So we have no idea if we just got some really strong athletes up at the beginning with those high or mid sevens, because like we mentioned yesterday, the cutoff was around a 7 to make it into the semis. So we'll have to see how the rest of this flight plays out.
It is Vincent Chen from North Carolina. He's coached by Aileen Salzberg. And he looked like he was really trying to power up on that second Poomsae. And he impressed the judges with the power there, maybe getting a 7.3 for his second form. So he'll finish with a 7.215. So everybody in the 7 so far, which has, it's pretty unusual, right, compared to our first episode.
Yeah, it really is.
This is Bowman Kim from Kim's K Taekwondo. Beautiful side kick to start off. A lot of power, a lot of control from Bowman Kim here, moving through choreo.
Right, he won a bronze at the Grand Slam that we had last year in individual, and he also won a gold in junior team. So he has been in this division for a year already. He's 15 right now. So again, the junior division is 15 to 17 years old, but if you're turning 15 this year, you're in this division, even if you're 14 for now.
Oh, big score, 7.87. And that's what I thought maybe about Vincent Chen. I'm not sure if we can get his age there, but he seemed like he was just aging into the division.
Yeah, it looks like Vincent Chen is 15. But so is Bowman here. So you really just have to do a lot to work with the body that you have and then try and figure out, how do I develop power? How do I make the Poomsae look good on my body? And this Kim's K Taekwondo team out of Georgia is very strong. We saw some of his teammates have some really good results in the senior and masters division a few weeks ago in session 1 of the US Open. He himself, like I mentioned, bronze at a tournament last year. So we'll see, opening up with the highest scores by far for the division right now.
7.9 for choreo, following a 7.87 will let him finish with a 7.885 and a huge gap over the closest competitor, Chaotin. This is Luke Pyle, and he's from California. He trains at World Champion Taekwondo Academy with Kunu Wu. That's Luke Pyle with a 7.17.
he could make these stances a little bit longer, and watch that head tilt is just pushing forward a little bit. So we want to make sure hips stay under, nice long stances, head nice and tall.
Wow, he has really nice long legs. Just needs to work on that posture a little bit.
Yeah, there's some settling into the stances. He comes up a little bit, drops back down. So there's like a little bounce into each of these stances, which adds extra motion. So we want to just stay low, stay grounded in those nice deep stances to show off his legs and how long they are.
And he gets a 7.2, nice little bump for that second Poomsae. And I'm finishing with a 7.2. Here are standing so far with Bowman Kim easily in first, followed by Chaotin Knudsenhoe, Matthew Ra, Alex P, Vincent Chen, and Lou Pio. This is Nathan Newell. And Nathan is from Texas. He trains at White Tiger Martial Arts under Jae-Hyun Kim.
I don't know if I recognize this dojang.
So this is out in Texas. This is White Tiger Martial Arts. Oh, really trying to reach high on those side kicks. Good job. And Nathan gets a 6.8 for choreo.
His head is leaning forward just a little bit. I think if he relaxed back, extended these stances a little bit, common themes we're seeing with a lot of athletes in the US Open, the stances are just a little small and the posture on the torso and head just a little bit leaning forward.
Right, so we see him constantly adjusting as they grow through the years. He gets to 6.67, so because, you know, maybe he learned them originally when he was a little bit younger and a little bit shorter, the stances were a little bit shorter, but now he's got to make the adaptation. This is Andrew Lee. Andrew's from California. He trains at Sky Martial Arts under Master Jun Yoon.
Start.
So Andrew also does freestyle, and he made the national team for the 17 and under freestyle team. So freestyle is a little bit different. This is the junior team, 15 to 17. We have the cadets, 12 to 14. But for freestyle, it's 17 and under. And I believe that it's 12 to 17. So it's the combination of the cadet and junior. So he was on that group that won and made the national team. And he also recently earned his third Dan black belt. So congratulations to Andrew for both of those really great accomplishments.
That's a big score, 7.57 for Andrew Lee's choreo.
시작.
Here's a good example of a nice long front stance, although we're not getting the hip rotation. double pivot there on that 270 spin. Again, that's a thing a lot of athletes do, is after they finish that 8 count and they're trying to come around into the double knife hand guarding block, they do a double pivot on that transition. So just being really careful. Some of these stances are a little bit off, but he got a really good score on the first form. So I think judges really appreciating the overall style, even with just a couple accuracy deductions.
Right, that turn where you mentioned the double pivot, that seems like a long way to go when you're the athlete. You have to really shift your weight and then key up your upper body, your core and torso, and then make that move. So you can't move too quick. There's 7.43 for Andrew Lee. So those are nice, solid scores, and hopefully we'll keep him safe at a 7.5. So up next, we have Nathan Kim from Taekwondo Tigers in Palo Alto.
Quicker tempo here, trying to really show some connections, but elbows are coming out on those front kicks. You want to make sure those elbows stay nice and tight to the body. Little bit of a rock on that base leg on the side kick on the second side, but saved it. Little breath there before the last bar. You can do it. I do that for myself too. I finish that. I'm like, all right, here we go. Last bar. Let's go.
Good job, Nathan Kim. Solid score, the same as Andrew Lee with a 7.57.
Here's another example of a kind of harsher click on that shift into the front stance. We'll take one more look here from the parallel, locking out into that front stance. It doesn't need to be a hard click. That can be a soft transition. Let the focus be on the hand techniques.
Very good potential for the high kick, especially that right side.
Yeah, but his hands are coming off the body. That right hand likes to really dip on the front kick. So as you're doing this, the kick should be the highlight. Nothing else should be moving. So for Nathan, just watch that right hand coming off the body and dropping down below your belt. But really nice overall presentation.
Right, so Nathan Kim got a 7.57, same as Andrew Lee, and for this one is 7.63. So one of the highest scores out here, I think the second highest score for Paul Jong, and finishing with a 7.6.
준비.
Up next, we have Lavon Game from New York. He trains at Team Champions in Long Island with his coach, Hyun-Suk Lee.
He opened up with some really nicely controlled side kicks, not the highest height that we've seen, but he just seems to have really good understanding and control of his body. A little bit of a balance check there on that side kick. Let's check out this side.
Yeah, it kind of falls down a little bit as he rotates over, and I get that 100%. It's hard to control that kick when you're pushing up so hard.
Hello.
This Lavon Game from New York out of Team Champions Long Island, scoring a nice solid 7.4.
시작.
Been a little high in this stance here. We definitely dropped it down a little more solid in there, a little more grounded.
Yeah, he's coming up from that parallel stance into the front stance, shifting up. So just stay low, stay grounded.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, or like this one right here, this boomsogi, a little too high, and then the front stance ends up being too high as well. So once one goes high and you don't feel it, then the rest are likely to follow. See if he gets low here.
But he has some nice power, so I think that really helped his presentation score on the first form.
Right, a lot of power coming through for Lavon Game cut top from New York. So he got a 7.4 and now a 7.47, so even better. He's going to finish with a 7.435. This is Ryan Bay from California. He trains at Elite Taekwondo Center with Pongo Bay.
Could bring that chamber in a little tighter between those double side kicks.
Yeah, I like to see him up closer. So maybe start one more mat forward so we can see you clearly on that first line, because it looks like there's plenty of room right to left while coming forward. Here's strong performance from Ryan Bay with 7.73.
I think that's the second highest score there, right up there next to Bowman.
Bowman, right. So Bowman had a 7.87, now Ryan with a 7.73. I would just say we could appreciate a little more power if you just like one mat or two mats forward on this, then we would really be able to feel that power.
I think Ryan's trying to be very clean here. His hand techniques are pretty on point. I just wish that he was closer to the camera so we could see some more power. I would even say he could work on increasing the power. And I'm saying that because he's far away, but I think everybody can usually increase power. But huge score.
Big score. So that should put him in second, I think. So you get a 7.73, then a 7.8. So he'll finish with a 7.765. This is Norton Chow from Taekwondo Kids in California, training in Palo Alto.
Looks like Norton is trying to push up as high as he can on these side kicks, but his landing is not quite clean. We see the torso falling forward into the front stance there at the top line. So hand techniques coming out pretty clean, lots of power. I would say maybe spend some time on the side kicks, make sure that we're working on the flexibility and then getting a nice tight chamber and then clean retraction. The retraction is what makes the next move look good.
That's Norton Chow with a score of 7.17.
Want to keep the elbows in on the front kicks as well. We'll get another look at that in a few moves here. Yeah, just maybe relax the upper body on the kicks. It's hard, I know, but the body coming forward, hunching just a little bit. We want to get that back as straight as possible during the kicks themselves.
That's Norton Chow training in Palo Alto with Taekwondo Tigers, getting a 7.16, just a hair under his first score. We're finishing with a 7.165. Here are standing so far with Bowman Kim in first, followed by Ryan Bae, Nathan Kim, Andrew Lee, Chaotin Knudsenhoe, Matthew Ra, and Lavon Game. So how many are we taking from this preliminary round, Miyako?
We're going to take the top 14 since we have 28 athletes. But geez, most of these, the vast majority are already in 7, so I have no idea what this cutoff is going to be.
So this is Hari Amin from Connecticut. He trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Bradford. And he's coached by Isu Hong.
Nice reach on these side kicks. He says that he won first place at the Summer of Poomsae in 2020, and it looks like he has a first on, so maybe that's a newer belt for him. I'm not sure. But a nice job on choreo.
So 7.0.
Working here to have that nice long front stance. Try and keep the bend in the front knee while you're twisting. But geez, nice long legs shooting up on these front kicks.
Right, really looking to be accurate, just needing to push out a little bit more power from the core. That's Hari Amin. He had a 7.0 for his first Poomsae. And finishes with a 7.030.
준비. 시작.
This is Jong-hee Lee, Connie Lee from Michigan. He trains at Team East Miracles USA Taekwondo under Master Suji Kong. I remember a lot of his performances looking very strong in this small training space. I'm saying small, but it looks plenty big enough for him to do the full Poomsae easily. Nice reach on those side kicks.
Yeah, he has some really great side kicks, and it's not a problem when you can just kick straight up.
바로.
And he got a bronze at the Summer Poomsae in individual, but also competes in pairs and even team freestyle.
Big score, 7.8 for Connie Lee.
시작. 와!
Yeah, some really good power coming through at the end of the techniques. Here's a nice rotation of the hips. That is what we look for here. Is it starts open on the hips, and then we get this 8 count. Nice rotation. Really nice. And a clean pivot in 1 there on the 270 spin.
Wow, nice. Boost up.
와! 바로 쉬어. 차렷. 경례.
It's Connie Lee scored a huge 7.9. So Bowman Kim got a 7.9 in the second Poomsae as well. So let's see where he falls in. 7.850. So just under, I think, Bowman Kim, right? And above Ryan Bae.
Mm-hmm.
This is Trey Jeter Giorgioni. Trey's from New York. He trains with his coach, Saeun Kim.
하!
And I don't think that we've seen Trey before in our tournaments because I feel like I remember his last name. And I took a look later in the division. We have the junior female flight 1 for black belt, and I believe his sister is also competing.
하! 바로
So that's Trey Jeter Giorgioni from New York. And he gets a 5.83 for choreo.
시작. 하!
I think Trey can work on staying low in these transitions.
Right, he definitely has a good start on this. He knows where to head. He knows what the lines require.
하!
Now he needs to maybe do a little bit of studying in this division. Take a look at the other athletes
바로
and see where they're expressing the power. Take a look at their stance work as well. So Trey got a 5.83 for the first one. And now higher score, good job, 5.9 for the second. So he did get dinged a bit on the accuracy, so maybe step by step with his coach. And he finishes with a 5.865. So up next we have Edward Murrow. He's from New York and trains with team champions on Long Island with his coach, Hyun-Suk Lee. Well, very deliberate timing here. So he uses a clean finish and then a pause after that. See how that worked for him on the score. He may need a little bit more connection from step to step.
Yeah, he does have a good connection on like coming forward, the down block into the neck chop, and then here the single knife hand into the punch. But between the moves themselves is a little bit too disjointed maybe. So you do want those connections on double-handed techniques in a stance, but also between the moves. As long as you can keep a clean body, no extra motion, that's what we're really looking for, is clean stops, but then it immediately releases into the next move.
Then he gets a 6.930 for choreo.
시작.
Could have more bend here in that front knee, especially in the last 2 seconds. He really started to let that knee come back here. You got to keep that front knee bent.
Good. I like how he's trying to boost up there. He's trying to use all his power to go high on his front kick. And staying low in that transition. That was a nice transition to that last line.
바로.
Nice and low. That's Ed Muro. He got a 6.93 for the
정례.
first Poomsae. Now it's 7.1 for the second. So up and over that big mountain to the sevens. So good job to Ed Muro. And finishing with a 7.015. Up next, we have Luffy Song from New York, training with Team East and Suji Kong.
He has some really nice hand power on his techniques coming through. I think I remember him possibly from one of our past tournaments. Kick height looks like he's still working on it. He's getting the height and then it's just falling a little bit. So we have to work on really building out those muscles so that when he hits that high point, he can stick it and hold it there.
Right. A lot of kids do, a lot of athletes, they do a lot of swing type kicking technique to warm up and all. So they kind of condition their leg just to come down. So it's a whole different thing to get the glute to control the leg coming back. And Luffy Song gets a 7.17 on the first Poomsae.
시작.
That's a pretty good score. I think this form will play to his strengths here with those front kicks, which are quite high. He has a nice stable base here on this front stance.
A really nice position to rotate from, not lose his balance, although he looked like he was trying to go a little deeper there for a moment.
Luffy in 2019 competed in both the New Jersey and the Connecticut state championships, where he got a bronze in individual. And then he also competed in team in the 2020 US Open. So I think that's good experience, especially individual teams. I found always benefits people because you're able to pick up on some cues and tricks that your teammates do. And then you can work that into your individual performance. So hopefully that was helpful for him.
Yeah, 7.4. That's a nice boost for his second score. And he finishes with a 7.285. So a couple dings got him on the accuracy score, but he had really nice presentation scores. This is Isu Hong. Isu is from Connecticut. He trains at Hong's Olympic Taekwondo Academy under Sang-ho Hong.
This is Isu's first US Open. I don't think we've seen him before at other tournaments that USA TKD's done online either. So I think it's good that he's here. I'm really glad to have him in the tournament. It looks like he's being a little careful. So I feel like he should just go for it. Throw some more power, have some more volume in those hand techniques. He is 16 years old, so he's in the middle of this bracket age-wise, 15 to 17. I think he should just really let it go and let all the power fly.
Well, he's relatively young and relatively new to, these big competitions. So I could see why he would be a little bit on the careful side. Isu Hong getting a 6.97 for choreo. Looks like he's trying to place a technique in the correct spot on the end of each motion. Like that's the most important thing right now is that, that initial accuracy.
And I'll have to take a look here. I think, that's not a terrible score. That's almost a 7 that he got on the first form. That's pretty good. that accuracy is probably helping his score here because he is being very careful, making sure everything is deliberately in the right place. But what's going to help boost his score overall is going to be the presentation. So how can he start increasing the speed on some of these hand techniques, getting more power to come through, that volume of motion? One of the middle categories on the presentation is expression of energy. So Coach Brand, how do you interpret that expression of energy?
Well, he's clearly ready to move on with the power part of the technique for sure. So that's a little meeting that he and his coach can have, try to discuss what's going to work best for his body. Got a nice boost there, 7.070. So how do you match the movement to what your body's capable of doing, and how can you really maximize your performance? So he's going to finish with a 7.020. And here are our standings so far, with Bowman Kim in first, closely followed by Connie Lee, Ryan Bay, Nathan Kim, Andrew Lee, Chaotin Knudsenhoe, Matthew Ra, and Lavon Game. So those are the top 8. But how many are we looking for in this flight, Miyako?
14. This flight is going to be 28. So we're just over halfway through now, and we're taking the top 14. Right now, that's already a 7.02 Isu Hong we just saw. So this is already, the scores are jumping up really high here.
Up next, we have Eric Chua from California. He trains at Elite Taekwondo Center with his coach, Kwang Gil Bae.
Nice reach on the side kicks.
Yeah, very nice.
Falling forward just a little bit on those side kicks, so he had to kind of land in that stance a little quickly. If he could control the retraction, place it down into the stance, might give his hands a little bit more time. Nice on this side.
Very good finish position on the extended side kick. So he needs to retract it still, but that moment when it's at its full height is really beautiful. So that's Eric Chua from California getting a huge score, 7.83. That's right up there with our highest score, really close to Bowman Kim, who got a 7.87 on choreo.
Yeah,
A
that's
little higher than Connie Lee, right? Got a 7.8.
Right, he's right there in the top 3 here within the 7.8s. And this is his first tournament as a junior here for USA Taekwondo. He just aged up from the cadet division, where he placed in pairs, and I think in individual he made it to 9th place, so just missed out on that finals. But here he's looking really strong. He's probably happy to age up and show off his power here in this new group.
Yeah, there's a big difference in power usually between the cadet and the juniors. And we see them getting so much stronger as they build a little bit more muscle mass as they go through their teen years. So Eric Chua, he got a 7.83, and that is really knocking on the door to that number 1 spot. So let's see how he does here. And a huge score, 7.940. So looking back at Bowman Kim, he got a 7.9. So he's going to finish with a 7.85. And Bowman Kim was at a 7.87. So I think Eric just went into the lead if my record's right.
We'll have to check at the standings. They actually might be tied. I have them tied in my notes, but we'll have to take a look at those standings.
Okay, this is James Santos from New York. He's from Champions Taekwondo, and his coach is Andrew O. Oh, you're right. I see it now. They're both at 7.885.
Okay, yeah. Bowman got a 7.87 on his first form.
Right. Well, this is going to be very exciting. Of course, we're in the
Well, this
prelim
is-
round, right? Both of them are going to probably easily make it to the semifinal, but this is just fun to see who comes out on top in the prelim.
Of course.
That's James Santos with a nice score, 7.6.
Shout.
This is James's first year competing in the junior division. He's 15, but he's not new to competition, although I should say mostly I think that is in sparring. As a cadet, he was actually ranked number 6 for sparring in the Finn weight class.
That's nice. We've had a few athletes really be able to be successful doing both Poomsae and sparring at a very high level. One was Luis Reyes. He was on the US national sparring team at one point, and he had also, after that, made the US national Poomsae team. So that's great. I know Carissa Fu was trying to work on the same thing, right, as she was working through her sparring years.
Mm-hmm. Garth Cooley was another one. Johnny
right.
Wynn, somewhat more
Right.
recently, also did both.
I think Johnny Wynn and Garth Cooley were the OGs on that.
Yeah.
They were on the 2006 national Poomsae team, and both had been on the sparring team as well. So there's James Santos with a 7.74. And finishes with a nice, strong 7.67. Up next, we have Ryan Peng. Ryan's from California. He trains at KS Choi Taekwondo Center under Daniel Choi and Megan Yi.
Some heel pops coming up on the front kicks. Want to just keep those down. This is a different type of floor. It looks like it is giving, but I'm not sure what kind of mats they are. So I don't know if that's maybe causing some extra heel pops on these transitions.
Right, almost looks like a Resolite wrestling mat.
Yeah.
바로
So it's Ryan Peng from KS Choi getting a 7.2.
시작.
I think Brian would benefit from just trying to soften up his shoulders a little bit. They're a little, not quite tense or robotic, but just from point A to point B. There's no kind of soft flow in the middle on some of these draws.
I like the bottom half of his movement, though. A lot of his stances are really solid. Not so much that one, but on the top line, very much so. Right, just taking a little bit more time to extend into those. Looks great when he's all the way down, nice and clean. Let's see if he gets it here. Little soft on the back leg. And there as well. So if he does it like he did that top line, his stances look really clean throughout. But that's Ryan Peng
경례.
from KS Choi Taekwondo Center. He gets a good score, better than the first, 7.37. With all these sevens, it's going to be a tough cut. So he's going to finish with a 7.305. Up next, we have Anthony Deng. Anthony's from New York, and he trains at Team Champions Bayside under his coach, Andrew Oh.
I don't think we have a list of how many athletes by school, but I would love to have that info because I see Andrew O listed as a coach for many, many students. So it's great to see that he has so many athletes competing here.
Right, we've seen this setting, it seems like a dozen times in the first 2 episodes.
And I think he has even younger athletes as well. So we might get to see them in session 3, which will have our youth athletes as well as I think our tigers and our dragons and our bears and puppies and kittens.
Some monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Good, nice strong hand technique from Andrew Deng. Let's see how he does with choreo. So he gets 7.2.
Oh, we're losing the bend there on that front knee. Keep it bent. Oh, he's fighting for it. He's trying.
Right, I see as he rotates, he's pulling back with his weight, and that's causing that to want to straighten. Little more upright here. It's getting lots of power though. This hand technique, even without a lot of core turn, still is able to deliver a lot of power. So it's Andrew Deng from Team Champions in Bayside, New York. And he had a 7.2 and another one to match the first. So what's that going to end up being, Miyako? Carry the 3
Divide.
by 2 minus 6. 7.2 for Andrew Deng. And up next we'll have Devlin Gomez. Devlin's from Happy Valley Martial Arts in Oregon, and he's trained by his coach, Miki Song.
This is such a great backdrop here for these videos. I remember from Minky Song's videos in the first session as well as previous tournaments. It's just so clean, the flags, that logo there in the middle. It's really great.
Right, and the more he moves toward the camera, the better.
His hand techniques are pretty good. I think that last bar is a good example of having some breathing space in the draws of the hand technique so that it's not just pick it up, leave it at that angle, and shoot forward.
Right, but he gets a good score, 7.33.
Trying to stay nice and tall here on those front kicks. It's a little bit of a bounce up and down though in some of his transitions and stances.
Right, he's really trying to get some power. He did a really good job at the beginning of this Poomsae, trying to stay low. And on the way back, hit a little bit of a balance issue, and then tried to recover. Did a good job with that and hung with it. So good job to Devlin Gomez from Oregon. Got a 7.5, so higher score. He really popped some power on the first part of that form. So he's going to finish the nice strong 7.415. Up next, we have John Yoon Ho. John is from Korea, training with Dobak Sori under his master Soon Lee. Oh, excuse me, Jun Lee. And remember, we had athletes in the senior master division in the same setting.
Oh. Well, he has some really great sidekicks.
Very good. And his power, he has turned it all the way on today.
And I believe that he's our one international athlete for this flight. So it'll be nice to see what do the judges think of this style. Really nice hand techniques there. They were really big, wide core turn on those.
Look at that, 7.97. Yeah, really great power through that whole form and all the balance underneath and the groundwork to make sure he could even probably pack on a little bit more. Not necessary, but he could even dial it up more with the strength of those stances. Just nothing's moving anywhere.
And this is
Nice
so
and long
deep.
here. It's a really good one to study because he's able to get nice and long and stay low on the transitions. So no up and down, no bouncing motion.
On some of these transitions, his feet, the weight actually rolls a little bit to the outside. So he's not lifting the foot up, but it is kind of rolling. So I have to go back and watch this just to see some of these transitions. I saw it a couple times, but I don't think it's enough to be an accuracy deduction. It's just maybe something for him to work on the presentation, but we might get an 8 here. Oh,
yeah. So Zhang Yun Ho, great job on both Poomsae, got a 7.97 and an 8.03 for a combined 8. So of course now into first place, and followed by Eric Chua, Bowman Kim, Connie Lee, Ryan Bay, James Santos, Nathan Kim, Andrew Lee, Chaotin Knudsenhoe, Matthew Ra, Lavon Game, Devlin Gomez, and we're going to number 14 here. So we still have a couple more that we will be able to bring in. Ryan Pang and Luffy Song. So the cutoff now at 7.285, which is a huge score for the cutoff to be.
Yeah, this is a lot higher, significantly higher than the episode last night with the cadets, the first flights. That cutoff was a 7, but here, almost every athlete starting in a 7. So we're a really strong group here.
So this is Simeon Keller from Alaska. He trains at Eagle River Taekwondo under his coach, David Keller.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head when Alaska is like mostly dark versus mostly light?
No, I won't in time.
I thought that was a thing where in Alaska, depending on if it's like summer or winter, their day is like, 20 hours or daylight and then 20 hours of dark in the winter or something like that.
Right. I remember being there and thinking I really needed to get back to the hotel at about 8 o'clock. It was going to be getting dark. So I rushed back and it wasn't dark till about 11 p.m. So I was surprised by that. 6.730.
Wait, have you been to Alaska?
Yeah, but just one time. So I'm really not that, savvy on all the details there, even though it was really light for a really long time.
That's very cool. I think Simeon lives in a really cool state. Glad to have some Alaska athletes here. He's actually not our first. We've had a couple already from this dojang.
Right, there's big interest. I went there actually to do a national team seminar and work with some of the athletes all over Alaska. Yeah, it was great. There's a lot of interest there, a lot of wonderful athletes. So a lot of potential in Alaska. And it's nice. They can compete this way without having to make a huge trip.
Yeah.
So that's Simeon Keller from Alaska. He got a 6.730 and then finished it up with a 6.6. So he'll take a 6.665 from the prelim round. Up next, we have Nathaniel Doolittle from Texas. He trains with Dwangale,
시작.
USA.
He's getting very tall. I remember him as a youth athlete. I think maybe even younger before that. His mom is Master 2 Doolittle, who we saw in one of the master divisions in the first session. I believe she won a silver medal. So great to see him now competing in the junior division. Here's another family, Coach Brand. They could compete in the online World Taekwondo
Oh, right, it's a family.
tournament. Exactly. Because for that event, you have to have people in the same family from different generations.
And he gets a 7.030. Yeah, I called up my mom for that. She's 90, and said she was all for it. She's going to start training really hard this year to make sure that she's in top shape.
He could soften up some of these hand techniques, bend that front knee on the front stance. A couple toe wiggles.
This line here, probably the strongest of all the lines in both Poomsae.
Needs to watch those back stances, both here and on the first bar of choreo.
Oh.
He's not quite stacking the weight. It looks a little centered. The back knee is turned outward. So we just want to make sure that it's all lined up on top of each other on those back stances.
Yeah, it was tough. On choreo, that first line, he pivoted on his heel, so that threw his weight a little bit off between those two sides of choreo. So he finishes that one with a 7.17 and the round with a 7.1. Now we have just two athletes left, the first of whom is Nathaniel Lee from Texas. He trains at Lee's US Taekwondo with his coach, Un Lee.
I was going to say this, Dojang is immediately familiar to me, but I couldn't tell you what state.
Hi!
바로
That's Daniel Lee from Texas, scoring 7.070.
시작.
Hi!
And Daniel has a great coach. Master Lee has been on the Poomsae team. So he has not only recent experience as a competitor, but he's also been able to talk with some of the national team coaches as he was getting ready for Worlds. So I think that Daniel here could have really good access to information from his coach and his coach working with other national team coaches. He just needs to soften up some of these hand techniques, continue to work on flexibility, but he actually has on some really good understanding of where the body should be turning to go with those hand techniques. So making sure that he's not a super upright torso, but turning the core with those arms.
차렷. 경례.
That's Daniel Lee from Texas, getting a 7.13 for his second Poomsae. So he's going to finish with a 7.1. What was our cutoff? 7.2.
Yeah, 285.
Good. So our last competitor in the division is
시작.
Ian Rhodes from Colorado. He trains at US Taekwondo Center in Aurora with his coach, Sean Jung. He's got good flexibility for sure. Those kicks are going way up. So you need to reduce the amount of body motion going with the kicks. But he can really reach up high. Good save on that second side kick. Oh, looking to the front. He needed to just continue looking to the left.
바로.
That's Ian Rose from US Taekwondo Center in Aurora getting a 6.07.
시작.
And also, I believe has a coach, Sean Jung, right, who's been competing recently.
Right.
Just competed in that senior 2 division in the US Open as well last session. So he just needs to work with Coach Sean a little bit more, keeping these stances nice and low. But it's great to see him competing here. And he has, yeah, like you said, really great flexibility on the front
Yeah,
kicks.
it was front kicks going way up there. It's a little close to that wall. Oh my goodness. A little close on this last transition. He pivoted his heel to get out of that little tight spot.
바로.
So that's Ian Rose, a ton of potential
정말.
coming out of US Taekwondo Center in Aurora, getting 6.33. So he was our final athlete in the division. So let's see how everybody stacked up in the standings. Ian, of course, finishing with a 6.2. So here are our standings with John Yoon Ho from Korea in first place, followed by Eric Chua, Bowman Kim, Connie Lee, Ryan Bay, James Santos, Nathan Kim, Andrew Lee in 8th, Chaotin Knudsenhoe, Matthew Ra, Lavon Game, Devlin Gomez, and 2 more on our next page of standings here, number 13 and 14, Ryan Peng and Luffy Song, all making it into the semifinal round. So congratulations to all of these athletes, tons of skill in this male junior preliminary round.
Okay, now we're moving to our second division of the night. We have the first of the 2 flights for the junior female black belts.
Up first, Tiffany Kai from California. She trains at Eagle Taekwondo under her coach, Jongwon Jung.
And this is a big flight, ladies and gentlemen. So settle in, get some snacks, because we are here for 39 female junior black belts.
That's a lot of snacks.
It's a lot of snacks. I'm making some tacos right now, so I'm going to be here with you guys for this whole division.
Wow, really nice reach on that one. Wow, that one as well.
This division has 2 international athletes. We have one from Nicaragua and one from Denmark. So because of that, the order will be randomized. We will not be using the ranking points to go in order. So totally random order here.
And Tiffany gets 7.33 on that first Poomsae. I'm interested in watching our international athletes. The athlete from Denmark, I believe, won the senior 1 division in the last session.
That's right, Eva Sanderson.
Right. Great kicking technique. And Tiffany's looking great here as well. Really high, booming front kicks. Really solid. No rush. Taking her time.
Yeah, she looks like a really strong competitor. She opened with a 7.33, which just compared to the male division, it's sort of a low score, actually. But I didn't get a chance to look at the referees. So make sure you go back if you're watching this. Take a look at those referees to see if they changed from the first division to this one.
Right, 7.24 for this one. A couple little picky things. Back fist going out a little bit wide on that line to the rear, and head nodding just a little bit on a couple of those front kicks. So she'll finish with a 7.285, but really good performance. This is Gabriella Del Pino Santiago from Florida. She's training at American Tiger Martial Arts under her coach, Kathy Doe.
I think some of these athletes, we need to just be a little careful that the hand techniques don't go below the belt on some of the scooping block motions, but also that the punches don't get too close to the belt. They should be at the solar plexus. So coming forward towards the camera, we just need to watch where that punch ends up.
All right, so Gabriella finishes the first Poomsae with a 6.3.
시작.
So she's getting a lot of heel pops here, both on the kicks and on the transitions. So you want to just keep that heel on the ground and then pivot on the ball of your foot.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential here. Got to work on those stances and stance transitions, just like even outside of the Poomsae. Just some drilling there to make sure she feels comfortable moving from side to side, back and forth with all of those stances, and then layer everything else on top. So she gets a little higher score there. Good job, 6.53. So Gabriella Del Pino Santiago finished with a 6 point, what, Miyako?
4.15.
4.15. And this is Savika Sawant from Georgia. Do you remember this site, Miyako?
No, I don't.
Right, I think this is a new one. Her coach is Nam Suk Byung.
Malvika might be new to competition for a couple years. She said that she competed in 2019, which she might have been a cadet. So now she is competing in the junior category. Got to soften up those arms a little bit, try and get a little bit more power to come through. But nice to see that she's continuing to compete here in the junior division.
Right, 6.47 for Malvika Sawant. Yeah, some heel pops going from motion to motion, a little bit of pivoting on the heels there.
She has a very clear retraction, both on the front kicks and the side kicks. She pulls it back into that chamber, which I think is a good understanding. You want that tight chamber on the way up, but maybe softening the chamber on the way down.
I think also just the camera work, just bringing the camera down to a more belt high position, looks like it's above her. So maybe just angling that so it's straight ahead will make her kicks look a little stronger. 6.630 for Savika Sawant. So she'll finish with a 6.550. And up next we have Marylee Ganter from Connecticut. She trains at World Champion Taekwondo in Woodbridge with her coaches Henry Kim and Gunsu Kim.
Marylee has done a couple tournaments already this year. She competed in the Lentz tournament, the third Lentz in January, in teams and pairs, where she got a bronze medal in both of those divisions, it looks like. And she also got third place in pairs at the 2019 US Open.
Really nice front kick position for the most part, especially those two going to the rear. And an earlier one with the right leg. So really has a nice
right on the air track.
It's 7.3, good score. Just under Tiffany's, our first athlete. That right leg nice and dialed in. Which is a little off center, or maybe it's the camera, I'm not sure.
I like her balance of power in her hand techniques, but looking very calm in her face. It's not like she's trying really hard. It just comes out. It looks like it comes out very naturally.
Right, it's easy to get tense, right? Hold the tension in your shoulders, hold the tension in your face. So many places to hold the tension. But she does a really good job looking very calm as she's moving through the Poomsae. She's a 7.24 for the second. That puts her in a pretty good spot. That's the same score that Tiffany Kai got on her second form. So she's going to finish with a 7.270. So up next we have Andrea Morrison from Nicaragua. Andrea's coach is Dennis Verdugo. I think we also had in the first session, a senior one female athlete from Nicaragua. Very similar body type to Andrea.
Right, same dojang also.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, a little bit longer legs. Teammate was just a little bit more petite in size. But she's got some really long legs. You don't really realize it till she gets that front kick way up there.
Looks like Andrea competed in 2020 at the US Open in individual Poomsae, pair Poomsae, and in Kyotogi.
Wow, great. So Andrea gets a 6.7 for that first Poomsae.
And I could totally see her being good at sparring. Her legs are so long. She looks so tall for a junior division. She's only 14 right now, so she's turning 15 this year.
Right, she's a little short on some of these front stances. Her legs are so long and it almost causes her to lean forward in that short stance. Just like this one, a little bit longer, a little bit lower would fit her body type, so she doesn't have to do any leaning at all.
I like her side bow though. Yeah, really nice flexibility on the kicks. I do see the lean of the torso that you mentioned. Just needs to tuck those hips under and then sit nice and tall in the stance while keeping the legs low.
So another score in the six is 6.77. So managed to get just a bit higher on the second one. So she'll finish with a 6.735. Up next, we have Ellie You. Ellie is from New York. She trains at Team Champions Bayside.
Shut.
Quick step over.
She too, just a little shorter than her body is wanting to be. Really nice front kick. She's got to keep that support leg all the way straight. She's almost there, probably like 85% there.
Another athlete here in this junior division with lots of power on the hand techniques, including the hips to generate power and a very calm demeanor. It looks great.
Yeah, 7.33, that last line was the best line of the Poomsae.
Shut.
Look at that, sky high.
Nice clean finishes too. Lets it breathe for a moment, a little wide on the last front stance.
Yeah, a little short on these up here near the camera. So go ahead and extend those a little bit more. Really strong front kicks.
Hello.
So Ellie got a 7.33 for her first form.
Shut.
Let's see what the judges have to say about this one. A little bit lower, 7.27.
But that puts her into first.
That's right, because Tiffany's second Poomsae score was 7.24. So here are leaders right now. Ellie You in first with a 7.3, followed by Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Andrea Morrison, and Savika Sawant. This is Corey Dong from New York. She too from Team Champions.
Corey has competed at AAU tournaments in 2019 and 2020. In 2019, she was a gold medalist there, and in 2020, she got a silver. So we have quite a few athletes actually now competing in both AAU and USAT. I think for USA Taekwondo purposes, you want to check for tournaments that give you ranking points and that count as majors. So if you're trying to make the national team, you're trying to get on the roster, those are the two things to look for. Is the tournament a major sanctioned by USA Taekwondo? And is it going to give you ranking points?
Corey Dong starts off with a 6.8, right? There's tons of tournaments out there, but if you're looking to make the US team, you need to be selective and finding the tournaments that will do you the most good in your pursuit by making sure those are sanctioned events with a good amount of points attached to them. So those are going to be those major events, just like this one, this US Open.
And we do have some international judges with us at the tournament. I believe we have some Canadian and Mexican judges. So nice that we get to have some different viewpoints on our American Poomsae Hour athletes, but also having the international competitors. So it really helps us get a good idea of what performs well on the world stage.
I always find that really exciting to have international referees at our events, because I'm always trying to think about a world championship, right? We're going to have referees that are from all over the world. So as much exposure as you can get to them, the better. So Corey's going to finish with a 6.815. Up next, we have Ria Agarwal, and she is from Dwangale, USA, coached by Master Songjae Lee. So it's great to see so many athletes in this prelim. How many did you say, Miyako? 100 in this flight?
I think we have around 300 athletes for the juniors and cadet session. But in this flight particularly, the junior cadet black belts, we have 39 in the flight.
39. Okay, so 39 athletes trying to get that spot on the national team roster, right? So this win of this major will put that athlete right onto that national roster immediately.
Right, and so now the national team isn't decided at just one event. You have to look into these pathways.
The idea behind that is we want to have athletes on the team that are consistently performing at a high level throughout the year. So not just maybe having one lucky shot at one event, but over time being able to have great results over many different events. But sometimes, athletes are so close, are not going to be able to get that major win and still want a spot on that national team roster. That's where our talent ID comes in. So we're going to be having a number of talent ID camps through this year. So hopefully everybody will click into their particular divisions group and try to impress the national coaches and get on that national team roster in that manner. And in the case there's no dominant athlete in the division, there'll be a team trial for the upcoming events. 7.03 for Ria. So a little bit lower than her first. And she'll finish with a 7.080.
준비.
This is Noelle Giorgioni.
시작.
I feel we saw her brother earlier.
Right, I think it's the first time that we've seen them at a tournament, but now nice to have both of them. He was in the division just before this in the junior male black belts.
Right, she's from New York, and she's coached by Song Kim.
Wow, look at that front kick fly up there.
Yeah.
She just needs to put the power and the pop that she has in her front kicks into her hand techniques.
Right, it's almost like she's been a dancer or something in the past, or a gymnast. A lot of athletes taekwondo athletes that come from gymnastics or dance can lift that leg way up there. And we just need to be able to convert that to going way up there with some power.
She did take some hits on accuracy. I saw going backwards, those two front kicks to the back. They should both be head or above. And she did one at the knee and one at the head like you do coming forward. So, Noelle, next time when you're practicing Paul John, you're doing that bar to the back. Just kick both of those front kicks high.
Right, not to the front, not one to the head and one to the knee. You mean one to the midsection and one to the head.
Right, coming forward, but to the back, they should both be at the head.
Correct. Yeah, her leg just swings up there so easily. Great potential for Noelle Giorgioni. She got a 5.54 for the first and a 5.9. Nice boost for the second, 5.960. She's going to finish with a 5.75. Up next, we have Anna Teo. Anna is from Oklahoma. She trains at Golden Dragon Taekwondo under her coach, Hwan Soo So.
I feel like this is a different backdrop for her than we've seen in past tournaments, but she competed at the NCTA tournament, which was a sanctioned event last year at 4.0. And she, let me see her results here. I think she won for the junior individual division. And then in the 2020 US Open, she did female team in the junior division. They got bronze, and also junior team bronze at the Grand Slam finals in 2020.
I'm sure all these athletes who are used to doing teams are just going to be so excited to see each other, start training together again and getting out on the mat. So she gets a 7.1 for her first form.
I have to tell you, I went and saw my team a few weeks ago, and I was trying to sync up with them and just doing the forms. We all had our masks on. I forgot to follow them. I'm so used to a whole year of just being by myself. I get in my head. I forget, like, they're right there next to me because I just haven't had it for so long. So it will take some training with those teammates to get back to being in team mode, but it was really nice to get to see everyone. I'm sure they'll be excited to get together.
Sure. What position in the triangle are you?
I am back left.
Back left. Okay.
Anna has a bit of a curve in her back. She needs to work on just tucking those hips underneath so we don't get that C curve.
Right. It's accentuated by the fact that when she's landing, she's really trying to push forward. And then that kind of exacerbates the problem. So she just needs to roll her hips under a little bit. So she got a 7.1 for the first form and now a 7.3 for the second. So she's in good shape after that one for sure.
That was the highest score for the second form.
Yeah, 7.3. That's a huge score. So the closest I think was 7.27 by Ellie You.
Mm-hmm.
This is Natalie Hong.
시작.
Natalie is from Apex Taekwondo Academy in Colorado. She's there coaching with Cliff Hong.
I remember this dojang from past events. I feel like the bobs were in the back, maybe all those targets.
Oh, right.
She had some nice hand techniques, actually. Push blocks, finish really nicely, but maybe a little long pause on some of the moves, some of those hand techniques dropping below the belt. She has competed online at the AAU tournament, so I think for USA Taekwondo events, we want to be just a little bit cleaner in some of those hand techniques. Watch the pathway that they travel, even if the ending is pretty good.
Right, so that's Natalie Hong getting a 7.14.
시작.
Man, these ladies just have great front kicks. So many of them have their kick just flying straight up the sky.
So with 39 athletes in this flight, right, Miyako, how many going to the finals? We're going to take 19 and a half person? What are we going to do?
So, yeah, for doing the cutoff, if it's an odd number like that, you add one up. So we go to 40 and then we take half. So we'll take 20 of these athletes into the semis.
7.27 is her second score. That's a great score. Same score as Ellie You and finishing with a 7.205. The last two athletes, great scores. This is Annabelle Ibsen. And Annabelle is from Denmark. She trains at Gangnam Sports Taekwondo under her coach, Bodo von Mucho.
Nice long legs. Look at this clean space. Good rotation. Wow, look at the front kicks. Well, this is very exciting. That was a great form from Annabelle.
Sure was. So it's Annabelle Mayo from Denmark, and she gets a huge score, 7.43. Wow. biggest score so far, by far, on that first Poomsae.
Yeah, that's right. That's a whole 10th higher than Tiffany, who went first, had that big 7.33.
Look at these kicks, nice and high.
She has very long arms and legs, and she's doing a really good job controlling the path of the arms to get a nice volume of motion.
She almost beats down with her foot. See her
Yeah.
keep the beat on the technique? I've done that before just in practice, just to have fun with some rhythm, but never in a competition. Little heel pop there.
Yeah, I think it was most obvious up at that top bar when she was doing the side kicks right near us. It's
Mhm.
not as obvious when she's moving in transition. It's just with those 3 hand techniques in one
Right, those
stance. It was
three-hand
clear.
techniques really lend themselves to doing that kind of little rhythmic beat to have fun with it, but didn't take too much off for that. 7.3 for Annabelle Tamayo. And she's going to finish with a 7.365 and easily into first place now. So this is Annabelle. Her full last name is actually Annabelle Tamayo Whitendorf Ibsen. She's in first, followed by Ellie You, Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Natalie Hong, Anatio, Ria Agarwal. Those are the top finishers so far. And next up, we have Allison Chong. Allison is from California. She goes to O's Taekwondo Center and Team Elite USA to train with her coach, Andrew O.
I'm sad she's not in her living room this time.
It's really fun when we see them at their home sites for sure.
Yeah, she had that big marble backdrop in the fireplace,
Right.
remember? It actually made her look very large on the screen here with a larger setting. She's a little bit smaller, but she had really great results at the Grand Slam.
Wow, nice reach on that kick. Her pauses are a little bit long. Need to connect those a little bit more. Nice score, 7.4.
Yeah, what a good score following up behind Annabelle from Denmark. Of course, she didn't know she was going to go right after her,
Right.
but she is doing a good job coming out strong here. And great front kicks, I remember now.
A nice push up, really great. And these last 4 athletes now getting some high scores.
Allison just turned 16 a couple weeks ago, maybe. So happy birthday, Allison. We'll see if the judges give you a nice high score here for your birthday.
She's got nice clean lines on her technique.
Yeah, I think she got a silver at the Grand Slam and maybe a bronze at the Summer of Poomsae. She's definitely one of the top competitors here in this division right now.
Right, clearly done a lot of work and it's paying off. Another 7.4.
Great score. Wow, that's gonna put her into
That's the highest.
first.
Right, so just above now, Annabelle Ibsen at a 7.365. This is Victoria Su. Victoria is from California and she trains with the Wangale under her coach Sangjae Lee.
Nice clean technique. She's wearing a Team USA uniform and belt here. One thing that's nice, I think is nice about having the cadet and junior divisions for only 3 years is that people age up pretty quickly, which allows a lot of people to try and make the team, either in individual pairs and teams, because one of those partners might age out and then you have to have a new team put together.
So she gets a score of 7.36. That's a great score. So these last, 5 athletes now getting some huge scores.
Really trying to push that side kick height, a little bit of body movement when she landed, a little balance check there as well. And a couple of heel pops here. She looks a little unsteady on her feet actually on these last 2 lines. If you just look at her feet, but the kicks are still coming out really nice and high and nice clean hand techniques. Just want to make sure that those feet are staying grounded the whole time too.
And coming out with a 7.3, another great score. So she'll finish with a 7.33. And now into that top 5. So this is Sarah Riskansky. And she is from Connecticut. She trains at World Champion Taekwondo Fairfield under her coach, Gunsu Kim and Kwanjin Ha.
Sarah also does freestyle, and she's had some really great results. She competed at 2020 US Open in pairs freestyle, got a bronze medal, and then just missed out on the medals in individual last year at the US Open. She got 5th, and I'm sure that huge air track, I think that is the largest air track I've ever seen. And of course, I can't say in real life, but look at how long it is. That's just a great tool there that they get to use to train on. And the ceilings are so high. It's a great dojang space.
7.13 for Sarah in her first Poomsae.
I'm jealous. I might have to drive up to Connecticut just so I can jump on the air track.
You know where I want to go? I want to go to that dojang in Bayside in New York.
Yeah.
So many athletes there really training hard.
That'd be a great, maybe we can have some seminars or something out there on the East Coast. They have so many students competing and training. Again, consistency is really going to be the key here for the pathways. They're doing a great job reaching on those side kicks. They're all finishing so close to that air track. Maybe next time start just 1 square more forward. Give yourself a little bit more breathing room there at the end.
So Sarah got a 7.13 on the first Poomsae, now it's 7.03. So she's going to finish with a 7.08. And up next, maybe you can help me pronounce her name.
준비.
I'll say Ja.
Ja.
Ja
Sure.
Mercuri. Great name.
A little bit of a slower tempo here. Really taking her time setting up. Could have a little bit more hip rotation on these 8 counts. Maybe tuck the hips under, keep that front knee bent. This seems to be the popular hairstyle right now, is these double French braids into the low bun in the back. I think like the last 3 athletes or something in the past 5 have had this hairstyle. I had it myself. I think it's great.
I was going to do it, but it required a lot of extensions and time. So I thought I might put it off for a little while.
바로.
6.8 for her first form. So it's going to be interesting to see where the cutoff is. So you mentioned we're going to take half, right? So we have 39.
시작.
Yeah, so the top
Let's look
20,
it up.
and right now, Jia is the 16th athlete. So we're not even halfway through this flight yet. And then, of course, the second flight will happen in another episode. So make sure that you're tuning in. These first 4 episodes are all prelims because we had so many athletes.
So remember, there were 39 to start. So if we cut it in half, that's 19 and a half. If you were the half athlete that got to go forward, which half would you want them to pick? Your upper body half or your lower body half?
I guess it depends on if my kicks were great or not.
Oh.
Maybe that's why they're going to take a whole person, right? So Shai got a 6.8 on her first one. And a 7. Good job. Squeaking over the top of that 7 bump on the second. So she's going to end up with a 6.9. Next up, we're going to have Tessa Lawson.
봄새
Tessa is
준비.
from California. She trains at QE Taekwondo
타격 파자.
under Robert Vargas.
시작.
Another example, a bit of a pop into that front stance we don't need. You can have a soft transition on that left leg right there. Just soft shift into the front stance. Focus on the hands here and work on turning those hips.
Nice reach on her front kick.
Good framing by either the coach or the parents here. She's nice and big in the screen, doesn't go out, but also doesn't look small.
바로.
Right, good job to Tessa Lawson on that first Poomsae. So she's going to get a 6.5. So I think she's still getting used to this form. Maybe just needs to employ a little bit more core strength as she's pushing through those techniques.
시작.
She's actually not dipping her torso too much on those side kicks. I bet if she worked on dipping her body down a little bit lower, she'd gain some flexibility on the side kicks because her front kicks here are looking really good.
바로.
Right, so then when she does dip, she just has to learn when she will dip, not right at the beginning of the kicking technique, but talking with her coach, so the coach can teach her how to properly do that. So she gets 2 6.5s. So Tessa Lawson will finish with a 6.5 in this prelim round. And next up, we're going to have Maggie Shiva from Utah.
준비. 시작.
Maggie trains at Shiva Taekwondo under her coach, Cherith Shiva and Eileen Salzberg.
Maggie competed in the World Poomsae Championships family team, which we mentioned with one of our previous athletes in the junior male division. So for that tournament, you have to have athletes across generations. So maybe her and her mom and a brother or something could form a team. And whoever submitted her facts says that Maggie carried her family team into the finals. So it's really great that she got to compete and she's looking nice and strong here as well.
Well, she has really great kicking technique, real good posture with it. She gets a 7.030. I think that has to do with some of the accuracy. So maybe some of that stance work is a little bit short.
시작.
We've seen quite a few different approaches on that move coming forward. I think we just need to smooth it out a little bit and make sure that the stances are moving along with the hand. So don't try and like move your hand by itself and then step forward, or start moving and then do the hands. It all has to flow together.
Yeah, you just have to learn how to shift your weight, when to shift your weight on those motions. But for all these athletes, this is the first year they're new to the junior division. First year they're doing Tibet.
Right.
So Maggie got a 7.03 on her first form and now 7.17. So a nice little jump. Maggie will finish with a 7.1. And up next, we're going to have Jamie Agaluz from Michigan. But first, let's take a look at our standings. We have Allison Chong in first, followed by Annabelle Ibsen from Denmark, Victoria Sue, Ellie You, Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Natalie Hong, and Anna Teo. Of course, we're going to be taking the top 20, so we haven't even got to the first 20 yet. We're not sure that cutoff's going to be. So right now it's just exciting to watch all the scores start to settle in. As I mentioned, this is Jamie Hana Agaluz from Kills Taekwondo and Flying V Martial Arts in Michigan. She trains with her coach Young Suk Gil and Vincent Chen.
Front stance a little bit short. It looked like she was really trying to push the power and her hand techniques coming forward, but maybe not quite landing all of the stances really solidly. So we had a couple little balance checks on the first couple of lines here, looking a little bit more solid and grounded. Great front. Oh, see, there it is. The weight shift maybe just a little bit on the wrong time. So she still is moving in some of these transitions, but her front kicks are just booming.
Lots of power, lots of muscle strength in her legs. And Jamie will get a 7.17 or take a Paul jump. That kick coming up close to the camera is really powerful. It's hard to appreciate the ones going to the side just because of the angle.
She's really trying to stay low in these stances. Heel coming up just a little bit. Some of her stances, the width is just inconsistent. That one a little too narrow, and some of the other ones a little bit narrow, other ones a little wide. So just working on the consistency, I think, of the stances, and then making sure we don't get those heel pops, especially on double hand techniques like the double punches. But really nice overall.
Right, the highlight of her technique is the speed of those front kicks and the power of them. She gets a 7.27 on the second form. She'll finish up with a 7.22. Up next, we have Joya Trevetti from Lee's US Taekwondo with many of her teammates in this event, and she's been coached by Master Un Lee.
Oh. So about halfway through, she was like, oh, let me be a little bit deeper, which is a good idea, but you just want to get there at the beginning. Here, stay nice and deep. Keep that knee in the front bent. Joya is our 20th athlete here in this division, so we are just about halfway through. Make sure that you're getting snacks. I can smell my husband making tacos. I'm very excited. Make sure you guys are having dinner, sitting down with us. Coach Brander and I are here for 20 more athletes to finish out this episode.
Right, and Joya gets a 6.64. You mentioned the tacos before. I just made a few calls, and I'm having a taco truck come over here.
Ooh.
Yeah, so making sure I have a lot of variety to
Well,
select.
everybody should have a variety of tacos.
Sure.
I have my cat taco too, so I'm doing good over here. I want to stay just a little bit lower in those back stances. Right sidekick did a good job flying up there.
Right. I thought the left one was pretty high, and then the right one even came out higher. And that line right there is probably the highlight of her Poomsae. She has some stances, a little short, a little narrow here and there. So really needs to maybe start there, but the sidekicks are on their way. Good job to Joya Trevetti from Texas. She got a 6.640 for her first Poomsae. Now for the second, a 6.630. So she'll finish with a 6.635. Up next, we have Megan Lee from California. She trains at Eagles Taekwondo under her coach, Jung Jin.
See, here it is, the double French braid into low bun. It's the hairstyle of the tournament.
Wow.
The Eagles team in California is another strong team. Megan has been on the national team before, and here she is throwing up some great front kicks. Want to stay maybe a little bit lower in those tiger stances.
Yeah, I was surprised that she was that high, actually. Let me go down a little bit lower. In general, a little bit high today.
Yeah,
It's
she might have
really
been
strong.
growing. I feel like she looks a little bit taller.
So she'll finish this first Poomsae with a 7.0.
시작.
She's on our 2020 US National Poomsae team in the junior division.
Do you know if it was for female team or what division?
Individual.
Individual. So she's really going to have to boost up here. We do have quite a few scores in the sevens. Here, the power does look like it's coming through a little bit better.
Right. She's also on the 2020 US National Poomsae team in the junior team division.
Right, okay.
쉬어. 차렷. 경례.
That's Megan Lee from Eagles Taekwondo. First Poomsae was a 7.0 and now a 7.3. So she'll finish with a 7.15. Up next, we'll have Irene Ho from Colorado. She trains with Devlin USA under Master Songjae Lee.
I'm really impressed with all of these ladies' front kicks are looking really good for the division. Nice and high. We need to be careful of the foot position. Sometimes we're getting a little bit of a bend in the ankle. So you want to have the bend mostly be at the ball of the foot, like you're wearing a high heel shoe. I'm sure all of our teenage ladies are working on their high heel walk.
All day long. Most of us, I'm sure, just walk around with high heels in the house all day long. 7.1 for Irene Ho's first Poomsae.
시작.
She's nice and steady, not a lot of extra movement. Back leg needs to get a little bit stronger there so it doesn't wobble. See how she does here. Yeah, just trying to keep that steady would be a big help. Real careful on this back line. I think maybe a little bit more speed. She can do it. She's strong. She can just go ahead and press the accelerator a little bit on that one. So Irene Ho got a 7.1. And you mentioned her hairstyle. So what's a prep time for that? Is that something you have to train for too?
Well, it's not so bad now when you can do your recordings at home whenever you want to.
So Irene Ho, another 7.1. So we'll finish with the same in this preliminary round.
But I can tell you when we go to tournaments, you definitely have to get up half an hour early, especially if I share a room with teammates and we're all trying to do our hair and makeup in the same hotel bathroom.
Wow. Okay, this is Natalie Lawson. And Natalie is from Virginia. She trains with the ICTIS team and Kim Masters United Taekwondo Center under Hyun Tae Kim.
Pretty good stance length here.
Nice reach on her front kicks.
And I want to watch those elbows staying in nice and tight on the front kicks. We don't want them flying out, especially on the jumping front kicks.
So that's Natalie Lawson from Virginia, training with ICTIS Taekwondo, getting a 6.76.
시작!
It looks like Natalie's trying to throw a lot of power in her hand techniques. I think it would actually look stronger if she started softer and then increase the power at the end of the technique rather than trying to throw it from the beginning. So just soften up, relax a little bit, do less, and then have the power come through at the end.
Boy, that's such a interesting concept, you know, and really hard for athletes to understand. We tell them to increase the power, they throw everything into it, we tell them to soften up, and there's a whole bunch of interesting knowledge in the middle there that they have to get to. And it takes a lot of time for them to quite understand that. 6.66 for Natalie Lawson.
But that's why we have coaches.
That's right. This is Jessica Chung from Team Elite USA, and she's coached by Victor Chung. Very nice, very thoughtful.
Looks like her glasses are sliding off her nose. How are they staying on?
Yeah, good job on keeping those on.
Got to keep your head super steady.
Really
Nice
good front kicks. I wonder if she's like slowing down any of the motions just to keep them on. Or if she has maybe a sports band on there to help. It's a little loose. So good job for her to keeping that together. Jessica Chung with 6.93.
시작.
So for some of these athletes in the junior division who just aged up, this might be their first time doing Tebek. There are two lines, right? The coming forward and then that side kick line. lots of different hand techniques they haven't done before. I'm sure just still working out some of the kinks, but then they get into the first and the last bars, really able to push it out. It's just like
Huddle.
Taeguk Samjang, right? That kick, double punch into the front stance. So
Chalet.
that should be a nice, comfortable
Connect.
feeling for them to start it and then finish it off. I always like to warm up with Samjang when I'm doing
Yeah, a little combination of Chojung and Samjung on those first lines and
Yeah.
last lines. 7.0 for a second one, so a nice bump, finishes with a 6.965. So here are standings so far with Allison Chong in first, the 7.4, followed closely by Annabelle Ibsen from Denmark, Victoria Sue, Ellie You, Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Jamie Hannah Agaluz, and Natalie Hong. That's the top 8 spots, but we're going all the way to the top 20 spots.
20 spots.
So right now that cutoff is a 6.635, but we have many more athletes to go. Actually, Miyako, how many more do we have to go?
Well, I'm going to have to count.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Maybe 15, 14, 15.
Anything can happen. So let's continue with Allison De Guzman
준비.
from California. She trains at the Elite Taekwondo Academy and the Team M Community Program with her coaches Jeff Avila, An Hui, and An Win.
Stayed nice and low in that transition in a cross step, then came up just a little bit as she transitioned into this front stance. Almost looked like her heel was coming off the ground there in that 8 count. Want to stay really low and grounded. Keep those heels on the ground. You see the heel, it looks like it's just gliding up.
Right, just a little hover right there on that left
Yeah.
one, that rear one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Allison De Guzman from California giving a 7.1.
시작.
Really nice reach on these side kicks.
Allison reminds me of senior 2 athlete Kim Menchevez. Similar body type, lots of power,
Yeah.
trying to stay nice and low and grounded.
바로.
Right, that back heel on those front stance, the only thing really that I see that maybe she can address
시작.
when she's training for the next major. But she looks really strong. Those side kicks were really beautifully done. 7.04, Allison De Guzman. So she'll finish with a 7.07. Up next, we have Zoe Adams.
준비.
Zoe's from Elite Taekwondo Center in California. She's trained by her coach, Kwang Yo Bae.
Zoe earned her 2nd degree black belt in the fall of 2020. So that was just a couple of months ago. So congrats to Zoe on your 2nd dan. I think some of these hand techniques a little bit soft, and then the body is still moving at the end of the technique. So we really just want to work on the
Hello.
freeze and having nice, strong hand techniques at the end of the moves. But lots of good points here. The Poomsae and a good score.
7.24, that is a very good score in this division.
시작.
think this is another athlete that would benefit from being closer to the camera. Although her first score was very good, I just feel like she would look stronger if she was closer.
Right, and it has a little bit to do with the lighting back there as well. So yeah, just bring her forward and it'll look really strong. 7.36.
The judges really liked it.
준비.
This is Rebecca Ponte.
시작.
And Rebecca trains with Spirit Taekwondo in Nevada. Trains with her coach, Yasmin Brown.
So Rebecca is fairly new to the United States. She moved with her family. They immigrated to the US, I think in 2019 or 2020, but she had been qualifying for the Batang Pinoy team in 2019 in junior pair and junior team. So now that she's in the US, she's going to be a new competitor here in the top levels, I think, as she tries to now compete and make it to the US team.
Oh, good score, 7.2.
시작.
Little short on this stance here. And better on this side. Really good reach with this right side kick.
A little bit wide on that front stance after the rotation, but I really like these front kicks.
Right, sometimes
short
they
there,
have
Curl.
yeah, sometimes good foot position and sometimes just kind of a neutral foot position. So
트랙.
maybe a little bit more flexing on that foot. So she got a pretty good score on the first one, 7.2, and now a 7.16. So she's going to finish with a 7.18. So I'm going to take a chance here. This is Ava Seinerbo.
준비.
Right close?
I remember looking up on Google Translate at the Grand Slam, trying
Stop.
to see how like Siri said it. I'm gonna go with Senior Bo.
Oh, okay. Not Seiner. Okay.
Eva, let us know. Eva is a French and American citizen, so hopefully she can teach us how to say this in French correctly.
French. Maybe it's center. Maybe it's Senorbo.
바로.
And she gets a 7.1. This is going to be really interesting how everything plays out at the end here to see who makes this cut.
That's right.
Stop.
We have about 12 or so athletes left. So we're going to start getting a good idea of what that cutoff is going to be now. And we're starting to get a bunch of sevens. And that high score so far is a 7.4, I think. Around 7.4, but there's getting to be a whole bunch of low sevens now. So I don't know what that cutoff is going to be. I think Eva needs to watch some of those stances crossing over on the bar going backwards. So just making sure that there should be a little bit of a gap. In the front stance, we should have about a fist width.
Well, she got a 7.1
Sure.
in her first form. See how she does in the
Junior.
second. All of her fellow athletes at Team Kim Boyan watching and looking for a high score. So she gets a 6.94. So she'll finish with a 7.020. So up next we have Yoon Jong.
준비.
She's from Alabama and trains with her family there. And her father, Singap Jong.
Great front kicks coming forward. We saw her sister Yerim compete in the senior 1 division. And I think this is another family that competed in the online World Poomsae Championships family division because their father also competes, or I guess he competed in that division, but he's like, I believe, the head instructor coach of this dojang.
She's so nice and long in those stances and patient on those 8 counts.
Another family that recently immigrated to the U.S. in the past few years. So I believe her and her sisters couldn't compete to try and make the national team for a few years when they first arrived. But then in like 2019, they just showed up to team trials and like all of them started making the team. So it's really great to have them here now.
Yeah, really high scale, 7.2 for Yoon Jong's first form.
시작.
Nice height, nice posture on those kids. Wow, watch this side kick go up. Nice and vertical. Wow.
That's really impressive.
Some of the stance work going through the rear a little bit off, but really great performance overall. That's Yoon Jong. She got a 7.2 on the first one, so I don't know, unless there's a lot of picky accuracy things, she's gonna get a very high score here, I think, on this one. Oh, another one, 7.2.
I think that last bar there were 3 or 4 heel pops.
Yeah.
Maybe she got tired at the end of the second form, but that could have easily been, I feel like, a 7.4.
Right. So she finishes with a 7.2. This is Lauren Matsuda from California. She trains with Team M Community Program.
시작.
Another thing that I'm seeing just watching these athletes, especially here that we have 39 in the flight doing Paljong back to back, is when they're doing that first bar coming forward, the punches, we've talked about how sometimes they're off to the sides rather than the center line. But another common mistake is that people will throw the punch and it comes low and then lifts up kind of after it's already extended. So you want to make sure that as you're coming forward, it's nice and tight, the elbow doesn't go out, and then it twists just at the last second, so it twists into place rather than twisting and lifting.
Good point. Lawrence did a pretty good job with this form. A little short on a couple of these stances. I don't know if she was concerned about maybe getting back to her mark, but she looked really good. See how she does a 7.0. So we're in our last 10 athletes of the division.
시작.
So there we got another look at those punches. Just want to make sure they're really nice and clean on the extension.
Good job to Lauren Matsuda. She got a 7 on the first form. Let's see how she does in Tibet.
시작. Cadet, Junior.
Another 7. So here are standings so far. Allison Chen in first, followed by Annabelle Ibsen, Victoria Sue, Ellie You, Zoe Adams, Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Jamie Agalus, Natalie Hong, Anna Teo, Yuan Zhang, and Rebecca Ponte. That's where we're at right now, but we're taking the top 20. So let's take a look at the next page as well. And that 20 spot is a 7.0, right?
Yeah.
So that's our cutoff at this point.
Nine athletes left. But this is, I think, the biggest division we've seen so far for the US Open. If we have 39, I'm assuming that the other flight has about 39. That's almost 80 people. That's like the biggest division we've had in any of our online tournaments. But not as big as an in-person nationals. I feel like the cadet and juniors are like 100 people.
Right. We owe much more than that sometimes. This is Nai Nguyen from Texas. She trains at World Champion Taekwondo with her coach, Nan Yul Chu. Got a little bounce to her emotion. I think this form really lends itself to bouncing from side to side. So you have to be careful on this one. So she got a 6.64.
Getting good height on these front kicks, but a little bit like a front leg swing rather than a kick. So we want to get that chamber nice and tight, drive the knee up, and then sit really low in these stances.
Pretty flexible on the side kicks. So that's Nai Nguyen from Texas. She got a 6.64 the first one. A little bit of a drop on the second one, so 6.43. Took a few accuracy hits there, and she'll finish up with a 6.535. So up next we have Emily Kwak.
준비.
Emily's from Texas. She goes to USCR Taekwondo with her coach, Ji
I remember seeing Cindy compete in this space in the senior and master session 1 of the US Open. Really nice front kick. She could sit a little lower in those stances. Her bun is like just slightly off center. That always throws me off. If it's heavy, I feel like I'm just not
바로
centered if my bun isn't centered. She needs 2. She needs fierce
There
spears.
you go. There you go. One fierce spear sometimes is not enough. For Emily Kwak, a 7.1, a good score. Because our cutoff right now, I think, is still around 7.0.
Yeah, right now it's a 7.0. We have about 8 athletes left. So she is going to try and boost up here just because we don't know what those scores after her are going to be.
Right. Just not rushing. No need to rush here. Just make sure you get fully set in the stance. You make it as long as you want, as low as you need to make it. Little up and down movement on this line here. Just got to stay nice and low through the transitions. Does that nicely here on this line, but then comes up a little bit on this one. is able to stay nice and low on that last one. So that's Emily Kwok from Texas out of USCR Taekwondo with her coach Ji Un, and she has 7.1 on her first form. Now a little higher, good job, 7.2 on the second. So Emily's going to finish this preliminary round with a 7.15 and safe for now. Up next, we have Alyssa Shim.
준비.
It's great to have so many athletes from this dojang. Again, I don't know how they do that with the mirror right there. It's so distracting for me.
Bayside Champions Taekwondo.
A little bit short on these stances. I feel like her legs are really long. Just moving it out a few more inches.
Nice reach on these front kicks.
Really nice to see that front kick super high above her head going backwards and centered.
바로.
Right, so that's Alyssa Shim from Bayside Champions Taekwondo getting a big score, 7.27.
샵.
Nice start. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, these are great front kicks. Needs to be careful that she's not punching after the stance is finished. You want that foot to land at the same time as the hand, but holy cow, that side kick. I think she could also slow down, soften up some of these motions. The finish is really nice. It's just a little bit jerky and quick into the hand technique. Give it more time to breathe as you set it up.
Right. I like some of her choices. She makes some good choices here. Every now and then, like you mentioned, a little bit too quick, a little sharp on some of these. So 7.37, judges really liked it. So she got a 7.27 for her first one. So she's going to finish with a 7.32, and that's a really high score in this preliminary round of the junior female division. This is Caitlin Marie Reclusado. Caitlin is from California.
Caitlin recently competed at the third Lens Online tournament in Europe. I just want to mention here, this long stance, staying super grounded here. This is a really great stance here. So she competed in this European tournament online. She won her junior division, and then they have a grand champions division. So the winners of all the female divisions, the youth, the junior, the cadet, the junior, the senior 1, senior 2, all the way up through all the masters compete in a grand champions division. So I actually won the senior 2 division. She won the junior. So all of us, like 8 or so athletes went in, and she is the grand champion of the of the champions for the females.
It's great. She gets a huge score, 7.57. So Caitlin trains at Bastekan USA under her coach, Sang-jae Lee.
시작.
Looking really strong here today. Nice and clean, low, good reach on the kicks.
Paro.
Great performance. Well, a lot of the athletes, they go short after a kick. She really takes the time to select where she needs to push out that front foot. Make sure she's in a nice low stance, nice low and long stance. So she gets an even higher score this time, the 7.64.
That is massive. That's like massively on top of everything.
Right, 7.605 for Caitlin Reclusado. Up next, we have Kylie Single. Kylie is from Oregon, and she trains with her coach, Hyung Min Jun.
Kylie can work on just keeping those punches a little bit more centered coming forward and then making sure that those uppercuts are 8 counts. I think she cut it a bit short. So every second that's not within the 7 to 9 second range is going to be a minor deduction for each second. So easy way to boost your accuracy score just by getting up to 8 seconds there.
Paro.
And she is a 5.87.
I think Kylie will benefit from really watching the rest of this division. It's great that there's 39 athletes, so you can watch 39 different renditions of Tebek, especially that bar coming forward, those slow motion blocks. Again, if this is a new form for some of our junior athletes just aging up into this division, just getting to see a whole bunch of different people's approach to this Tebek, I think is going to be really helpful for training over the next few months as we wait to see what USA Taekwondo has planned for us in the coming year.
Wow, nice boost to her score. Kylie got a big 6.47 to follow that 5.87. So she's going to be in the 6 range. Probably pretty darn happy about that. 6.17 for Kylie Single. This is Sarah Algitawi. And Sarah is from Agape Black Belt Center in New York. So Sarah's the first of the last 4 athletes to compete in this preliminary round.
And I think after Sarah goes, we'll get one more look at the standings before we're done with the division, and we'll get a good idea of what that cutoff is going to be. I think it did creep up a little bit because we had a couple scores above a 7 after the last time we saw the standings. And Sarah can work on just keeping those stances to the right length and width. A couple of them are a little off on the accuracy, but she's at a great school there, Agape, with some really great coaches and other athletes.
So starting off with a 6.540.
Yeah, so these stances a bit wide coming forward. But a nice long front stance.
Oh, good potential on that side kick. She get that right one way up there. Good job to Sarah Algitawi from New York, training there at Agape Black Belt Center. She got 6.54 for the first one and now a 6.34 for the second. So she'll finish with a 6.44. Now we have just 3 athletes to go. But first, here are our standings with Caitlin Reclusado now in first, followed by Allison Chong, Annabelle Ibsen, Victoria Sue, Alyssa Shim, Ellie You, Zoe Adams, and Tiffany Kai. Those are the top 8, but we're taking the top 20 to the semifinal round. So we'll have to look at this next screen to see what our cutoff is now. So 7.08. So you were right, Miyako, went up just a little bit.
And look, there's a tie there at 7.08. So right now, both Sarah Visconsi and Ria Agarwal are making the cut, but we have 3 athletes left who are going to try and sneak their way into the semis.
And that first athlete is going to be Taekyung Kim from Florida. So Taekyung is from American Tiger Martial Arts and coached by Kathy Doe.
Maybe a little short here on these stances. And again, that double pivot there on that 270. A lot of athletes getting that. We just got to clean up those big transitions. Hair a little distracting. I think normally for recognized Poomsae, we suggest a bun so that it's not moving around. Let the judges focus on the hand techniques where she actually has quite a bit of power.
Yep, 6.840. For front kicks, though, the highlight of her performance so far is Taekyung Kim from Florida. A little short, a little high on these front stances. Nice reach. And Taekyung gets a 7.14, so much higher score than for her first Poomsae. On that one, she got a 6.84, so she's going to finish with a 6.9. So our last 3 athletes here in the 6s to high 6s. This is Michelle Ortiz Sanchez. And Michelle is from US World Class Taekwondo in Gresham. And she's training in Oregon with her coach, Samuel Leader. Nice quick turn.
Think a little bit quick on some of these techniques. She's finishing them at the same time, so she's going to get away with it for accuracy purposes. But I think for presentation, if she just that was better. I feel like the last bar was better. She gave herself time to let those blocks come around rather than shooting them too fast.
Yeah, she has a lot of potential. She has a lot of power in her core, and she's really trying to push that out.
Chuck.
Little heel pop on the transitions here. Just got to keep that foot nice and flat. Great reach there.
Want to keep that back leg in the back stance as stable as you can. When you're doing those 3 hand techniques before the side kick, a lot of athletes trying to generate power, turning their core, and then that knee is wobbling left to right. They're trying to keep that sturdy will help when you're so close up to the camera look strong for the judges.
Show.
So this is Michelle Ortiz Sanchez from Oregon. She trains at US World Class Taekwondo. She got a 6.83, so close to the first one. So she's going to finish with a 6.88. And our last athlete of the division is Annika Tsutsumi from Virginia. Annika trains at US Tigers Taekwondo with her coach, Dennis Kim. Nice and accurate on that front line, those punches.
This is great placement on the camera. She's nice and big, even though the dojang itself is like really big. This is good placement on her part or her coach's or parents' part.
Right, nice, solid performance from Annika Tsutsumi from Virginia, the 7.3. It's a big score here at the end of the division. It might change things around a little bit.
That's right. The cutoff was a 7.08. So she'd have to get something like a, 6.8 here to not have anybody change. Otherwise, she's going to knock one of those last athletes there with a 7.08 out of the semis.
So everybody's sitting on the edge of their seat after 39 competitors. You really want to feel locked in, but a few of them here.
On that right leg side kick, it looked like she pushed her torso forward. I don't think she was quite in alignment. Of course, we can't tell from this angle, but maybe something for her to just work on for the future is making sure that she's really straight in alignment on those side kicks, because she does get really good height.
Right, a few athletes wondering here what is going to happen. So she gets a 7.37, even higher for the second Poomsae. So she'll finish with a 7.335. And here are our standings in the junior division, the first prelim set to go. We have Caitlin Reclusado in first place, followed by Allison Chen, Annabelle Ibsen, Annika Tsutsumi, Victoria Sue, Alyssa Shim, Ellie You, Zoe Adams, Tiffany Kai, Marylee Ganter, Jamie Agaluz, and Natalie Hong. Those are the first 12, but we're going to 20. So also Anna Teo, Yuan Zhang, Rebecca Ponte, Megan Lee, Emily Kwok, Irene Ho, Maggie Shiva, and Sarah Riskonsky. Those are top 20. And look, that was a tie for that one. Ria Agarwal just missing with that 7.080.
Well, this was just a really exciting division. So many kicks. I'm so glad we had all these athletes in the flight. We'll have the second flight in a later episode. So make sure that you tune back in for episode 3 tomorrow, where I believe we're going to go back and finish out those cadets.